everyone to our Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 regular closed session meeting of the East Bay MUD Board of Directors. In accordance with Government Code 54953E, this meeting will be conducted by webinar and teleconference only. A physical location has not been provided for this meeting. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Director Coleman.
Present.
Director Katz.
Present.
Director McIntosh.
Here.
Director Mellon.
Present.
Director Patterson.
Present.
Director Young.
I'm here.
President Lenny.
Here. If members of the public or online wish to make public comment, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Do we have any people for the public comment?
I don't see any hands at the moment. I have one hand for public comment.
All right.
Yvette Rivera, you should be able to unmute your mic.
You have 3
Thank you.
minutes.
And your 3 minutes start now.
Thank you. I see on the closed board agenda today that Shantae Scott's case, civil rights case against East Bay MUD, is back on. I spoke at the last board meeting on October the 11th and referred to that lawsuit and also brought into the district at a board meeting a booklet that provided all of the evidence that Shantae Scott's lawyers presented to the state court. Evidence that the state court determined needed to be seen by a jury. The district's request to dismiss the case, of course, didn't move forward. And after that meeting, after I provided the booklet to the district directors, I asked under a Public Records Act request for the emails that went back and forth between ABC News and East Bay MUD. Under a Public Records Act request, I asked for those records. At the bottom of my emailed public records request, I said I looked forward to seeing all of the communications between ABC News and the district. On October the 19th, I received some records. Kelly, they were CC'd to Kelly Zito, and the emails were written by Andrea Pook to ABC News. The emails that are missing are the ones from the district to Andrea Pook, and I am still looking for those records. Again, before I am going to need to obviously file a writ of mandate in state court to get records that have not been provided to me, either in a redacted form or I haven't been given a list of documents that are being withheld. Before I do that, I am asking one more time for this record, communications between Andrea Pook and whoever told her to, and this is my opinion, to disparage Miss Shantae Scott, and also the employment records. I did receive an email saying they were not going to be released, so I just need to proceed in state court with a writ of mandate. And this is my notice to the district that that's what I'm going to do. And if I don't hear a response within 2 weeks, I'll go ahead and proceed. Thank you. That's all I have. I yield.
All right. Do we have other speakers?
There are no other hands for public comment.
All right. We will now convene to discuss closed session agenda items. We're scheduled to return to our regular meeting at 1:15 p.m. Welcome, everyone, to our Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 regular business meeting of the East Bay MUD Board of Directors. In accordance with Government Code 54953, subsection E, this meeting will be conducted by webinar and teleconference only. A physical location has not been provided for this meeting. We will receive reports from the October 18th District Projects Tour and this morning's Sustainability, Energy, and Finance Administration Committee meetings under item 15. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Director Coleman.
Present.
1 minute. Director Katz?
Present.
Director McIntosh?
Here.
Director Mellon?
Present.
Director Patterson?
Present.
Director Young?
I'm here.
President Lenny.
Here, please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. There are no announcements required from closed session, so we're on to public comment. If members of the public are online and wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. Comments on non-agenda items will be heard at the beginning of the meeting, and comments on agenda items will be heard when that item is up for consideration. Madam Secretary, is there anyone online for public comment?
I don't have any hands online for public comment at the moment. I have one hand.
All right, for online speakers, when prompted, please state your name, affiliation, if applicable, and topic. Please refrain from providing personal information. If we need this information, we'll have you contact staff. The secretary will call each speaker in the order received. Your time is 3 minutes to speak. However, I have the discretion to amend this time. The secretary may track time and inform each speaker when the allotted time is concluded.
Okay. Yvette Rivera, you should be able to unmute your mic.
Thank you.
And your 3 minutes start now.
I spoke at the morning meeting at 11 o'clock to bring the board the subject of me not receiving redacted records and how I was going to need to file a writ of mandate. Some of the records, just in part, that I haven't received were starting with the Shantae Scott civil rights lawsuit against East Bay Mud. I asked for the ABC News, statement that East Bay Mud made that referred to Shantae Scott as a litigant that was, I guess, my opinion, deserving to be fired. I received on October the 19th an email from the district that listed Andrea Pook as the person that provided the statements to the news, but I needed to see all of the communication, which included anyone else that provided that statement to Ms. Pook. I also asked for employment records. I have not received redacted employment records. And I also asked for conversations that Janella Samber-Wallace, a non-practicing attorney that is not currently an active attorney, that she had any conversation she had with senior management, including Derry Mouton, about forcing me to reply to a determination letter while I was on vacation in Argentina. I did not receive those communications, and I'm asking for the district to reconsider that stance. That's all I have right now. In order for me to follow a writ of mandate, I do have to provide the district a last request for reconsideration, which I will do. And thank you. That's all I have. I yield.
All right, thank you. Do we have other speakers?
We have Kelly A. Give me one moment. Kelly A.,
Thank
your
you.
3 minutes start now.
Thank you. This agenda is so empty of substance that I wonder even why you bothered to hold the meeting. You've got like a dozen items on the consent calendar. So those are things that you consider to be non-controversial and will probably be passed by a unanimous vote. And then you've got this general manager's update. And then these are things that, many other districts or water agencies, they would consider them separate items. But if you combine them, if you collapse many, many separate items into one, then you only give people, one chance to comment. So it doesn't matter that they really are not one item. If you take 10 items, collapse them into one, it's a great way of evading the Brown Act by just forcing everybody to comment once on all the items that are of real business. Now, what are these items? There's a drought update, there's operations, there's an excessive use penalty. There's the application of the excessive use penalty to groups of users. There's activities to conserve water. Then there's media and advertising relations. All those things are not exactly all the same thing. And you put them all into one item. And then you even throw in on that item a ceremonial item was about a milestone service year. I would hope that there's no opposition to that. I'm sure everybody's very happy to have long-term employees. So anyway, this method of assembling your agenda so that you collapse it down into one item is very suspicious and not a very good way of doing business. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would just want to, Mr. A, I wanted to reply there and say that on the consent calendar, any one of those items, if a member of the public wishes to comment on them, our procedure is to pull that item from the consent calendar and have a discussion for that. So there's an ability to do that. And pretty much with most of the other ones, now the drought update, it's all related to the drought. And if there's separate items that need to be commented on or something, we would take those that way. So it's not put together to collapse it as under one particular topic and different aspects of that topic to discuss. So just to have clarification of that. But thank you for your points today. Do we have any other speakers?
We have no other hands for public comment online.
All right. Then we will move on to our consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent calendar for discussion?
I'll move items 1 through 12.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Director Coleman, seconded by Director Mellon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Okay, we're on to determination and discussion.
Yes, I am pleased to bring to you for consideration the appointment of Amit Matsadi as our next Director of Wastewater. Amit has over 20 years of engineering design, construction, and operations and maintenance experience. In those years, he has demonstrated strong leadership and professional skills. For the last 6 years, he served as the Deputy Director overseeing the operations and maintenance of the San Jose Santa Clara Wastewater Treatment Facility, one of the largest advanced wastewater treatment plants in California. Amit is a board member and the current chair of the Bay Area Clean Water Agencies and is also a board member on the San Francisco Estuary Institute. Amit has a bachelor's and master's degree in civil and environmental engineering.
We have one hand for public comment.
All right. Let's hear the public comment. Is that on this item?
We're going to,
I guess we'll find
Kelly
out.
A., is your public comment on item 13, the appointment of the Director of Wastewater?
Well, it was actually I had my hand up for one of the earlier items, which was the one about wastewater electrical backup supply. Which one is that? It's one of those agenda items. Backup electrical supply for the wastewater. And so it's kind of fortunate that you're appointing the wastewater director here. If you go back to 2020, you'll find out that in your PR, in your press releases, you actually had an electrical failure in your plant, your own wastewater plant, that resulted in the release of sewage. It was only like an hour and a half of electrical failure. And now you're going back and talking about putting in backup electrical supply, which sounds like a really good idea. And if you go back about a month or two to, I think it was the town of Antioch, it's somewhere up there in Contra Costa County near the water. they actually had another electrical failure where some of their wastewater treatment pumps failed because of electrical supply issues. And that resulted not in water quality problems, it actually resulted in air quality problems, with hydrogen sulfide being released all over the neighborhood. And the Bay Area Air Quality Management District had to go in, and it became a very big deal. It was in the newspaper. So there again, electrical supplies can cause problems, not just for the water, but also for the air. And you have to ask yourself, obviously all these sewage treatment plants that people are running, both East Bay Mud and the other agency up there in Contra Costa, I don't think it was your agency, I think it was a city up there. All these agencies, nobody has a lot of backup electrical supplies, and it turns out that they're really needed because when the electricity fails, bad things will happen to your water or your air, and all the neighbors will complain. So this is something I think the whole industry might need to be doing more of, is putting in more backup electrical supplies. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for your comment. I think you were referring to item 8 on our consent calendar, which was to authorize an agreement for the preparation of a wastewater electrical resiliency master plan. So I will take your comment as in support of that, and thank you for that. And one other item I was reflecting on as you were talking, that when we've had our meetings in person, back in the good old days, had little blue cards that you would fill out at the outs of the meeting for the item that you wanted to speak on, and whether you were speaking for or against it, if that was relevant. And I think we're still struggling with how to deal with the raised hand on the thing. But I appreciate your comments and appreciate your patience with trying to deal with how to work those comments in correctly. But back to our item at hand, we have a vote on the appointment here.
Is he here?
I think we need a motion.
He is here then.
Do I have a
I'll
motion?
move. Second.
That was my hint before. Okay, so motion by Director Young, second by Director McIntosh. Any discussion? All in
Where is the person in the audience, please? A hand? Ah, there you are.
hand, stand.
Okay.
All right, hold on now.
We have to vote.
Okay.
I just want to know, did not say, it always says, what college did you go to?
I went to San Jose State for my master's in human technology in India.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
A Spartan. I went to San Jose State too. All right.
Finally get one.
Yeah, right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carries unanimously. As our tradition, give you a chance to, congratulations, and give you a chance to.
I'm really honored to be here. I want to thank the board and General Manager Clifford Chan for the opportunity. I've been a resident of Bay Area for nearly 25 years. Always worked for San Jose for 23 years. Bay Area is my home, and I consider that I'm very passionate about water and wastewater. So last 10 years I've been working at San Jose Regional Wastewater Facility, and what I look for in East Bay Mud Wastewater Facility in the next coming years is an opportunity for rebuilding infrastructure and dealing with the challenges with nutrient and changing regulation. It is in the early stages of implementing many of the infrastructure projects while we continue to treat our wastewater and serve our communities. That's been my job for the last 10 years. And I think as the program is kind of ramping down in San Jose, I look at this East Bay Mud opportunity to do this all over again. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity and also working with the regulators to work on the many challenges that are evolving on our way, like the nutrient and the air quality issues and CEC. So thank you all for the opportunity. Again, timing couldn't be better.
Thank you, and welcome.
Amit, I actually have a question for you, and I'm trying to get my facts straight. But isn't San Jose one of the cities that's actually implemented some nutrient management and nutrient control?
Yes.
And was that under your leadership?
We actually have been doing the biological nutrient removal since 97.
Wow.
But
okay.
under my leadership, we actually optimized it recently to further, tune up the system to lower the nutrient level even more. Our system is just, set up that way, and all we could do is tune it up and to maximize it. And we're even looking at further, improving it with the new system, which is kind of a state-of-the-art new technology that hasn't been quite used all around the Bay. But yes, I have a lot of knowledge in
Good. Well, I'm looking
biological
forward
nutrients.
to you bringing that passion to the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick, you're on the SFEI board,
Yes.
so but you've not been part of the RMP.
RMP.
I'm part of the RMP, but I didn't recognize your name from that.
Yes, I've not, but you've probably seen Eric Dunleavy in there
Yes.
from San Jose.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Okay. Next, we have our drought update. Our customers are continuing to conserve water. In September, our water use was down 13%, and through October 23rd, our water use has been down 14% compared to the 2020 baseline. Dave Briggs, our Director of Operations and Maintenance, will begin with our water supply update, followed by Alice Toey, our Manager of Water Conservation, to provide an update on the excessive use ordinance.
Okay, good afternoon, President Linney, members of the board. This will just be a brief update before I hand it over to Alice. So just the one slide I have for you showing that our storage right now, upcountry, Pardee, and Comanche, is 63% of capacity. Remember, you might recall last year that was 52%, so we're considerably better than last year. Locally, 84% of capacity. Locally, we're about where we want to be as we go into the winter. Remember that we do like to have storage levels lower as we go into the winter. And then upcountry, considering that we've had 3 dry years, we're only about 86,000 acre-feet below the winter rule curve level going into the winter. So all things considered, not so bad. As we concluded last water year, we ended up with 520,000 acre-feet of carryover storage. Just yesterday, we completed the 20,000 acre-feet of diversion of the purchased water from Placer County. And our gain share obligations, which are captured in the joint settlement agreement, when compiled together amounts to a little over 12,000 acre-feet. That water was released in 3 pulses over the last month or so to attract the fish up the river. That will go on for about another week. When the dust settles on all of that, we'll have about 516,000 acre-feet of storage going into next year. Now remember, in 2015, going into water year 2016, so that was the worst part of the last drought, we had 350,000 acre-feet of carryover storage. So we're doing okay considering that we're in our 3rd year here.
That was what year? I'm sorry.
That was fall of 2015. We had about 353,000 acre-feet of carryover storage, and we'll have 515 this time.
So are you? I'm taking some notes for my thing tomorrow. So we're below the threshold, the rule for any releases, mandatory releases for November.
For flood control, yeah, about 80. So yeah, we're about 86,000 acre-feet below flood curve.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get Alice up here.
Thank you, Dave. Good afternoon, President Linney, members of the board. So I'm going to just give a quick update on the excessive use ordinance. There we go. Okay, so just a reminder that the next couple of slides are just, kind of a reminder. I think we're all familiar with this at this point, that, the district last year, we went through the process of updating the excessive use ordinance to comply with state law. We are required to have a system in place to discourage excessive use anytime we're in a situation where we have mandatory rationing or local conditions affected by drought emergency as declared by the governor. So that now includes stage 2 droughts, since we have mandatory rationing in stage 2. So the ordinance was activated in April of 2022. As a reminder, for stage 2 drought, the threshold is 132 units per 2-month billing cycle. That works out to be about 1,646 gallons per day roughly, that customers have for single-family residential. We have been doing a lot of outreach to customers about this ordinance, and we've actually added some additional outreach that I'll talk about in a minute. We sent courtesy notifications to about 13,000 customers in May who had a history of high use. The current system is that when customers have a first exceedance on a bill, they get a warning letter. And then at their second exceedance, they at that point are considered to be in violation. There is an appeal process if customers have a health or safety issue, if they can prove that they had a leak that they fixed, or of course, if there's some kind of billing or meter issue on our side. And as always, water conservation staff are happy to work with any customers that reach out to us. And we have had a few success stories in this case where people who've had, warning letters or even exceedances, we've been able to kind of work with them to try to find ways to bring their water down.
Alice, of the 13,000 that,
Yeah.
13,000 that you guys reached out to who have had historical high usage, how was it received, one, and how many responded in a positive way to reduce their water consumption? Do you know?
Yeah, so how it was received, we did receive emails or letters, I believe. Andrew Lee got several letters back since his name was on the letter from customers. That included a couple that requested assistance with reducing their water use. In one case, one of our staff went out and did a pretty extensive audit and found that the person had their irrigation system was a little bit of a patchwork, so we were able to work with them. In terms of how that's affected them in terms of their water use, we're still kind of doing that analysis and plan to give a full update November 8th. But one of my staff has been looking at it, and the thing that's interesting is when you look at the group of customers who got that courtesy notification, we looked at their water use in the summer 2020, 2021, 2022. It does look like their water use in 2022 was significantly lower. Now, whether that's the result of getting the courtesy notification or it's because we're in a second year of the drought, it's in the news a little bit more, it's hard to say. But, clearly it seems like for that group, they did get the message.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and again, November 8th, we'll have a little more detail on that.
Is that because we'll be through the full cycle of our customers at that point, or is this representative of the full?
Yeah, I think November 8th was when we had scheduled to kind of come back and just talk about the summer just overall. So, the fact that we set the 10% goal, how did we do in achieving that goal? And then we wanted to kind of roll in a little discussion of the EU.
Yeah, I get, my question was actually something slightly different. I understand November 8th, but we have 1.4 million customers. We sent out 13,000 notices. We bill every other month. So in 2 months, right, we get through everybody.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So the first 2 months, we
had just those three.
Yeah, so
Right.
to be clear, we wanted to make sure that everybody got a full billing cycle. So, we didn't want somebody to sort of be penalized for any use prior to when this went into effect.
Right.
So if you think about, the ordinance went into effect end of April, so that would be, May and June. So the warning letters started rolling out in July. So we are kind of getting to the point now where we're kind of getting close to being through a full cycle.
So then, if this is how many people on this one?
Yeah, so this is 320. And just to be clear, this spans a period of when the statement dates from September 3rd through September 30th. So that includes some water use from, some of those customers would have had water use in July.
Yeah, I'm just
So
trying
it's
to
still-
figure out if we've got through the 13,000 that got the notices at this point.
Yeah, we can check into that for you. I'd have to.
Because then we'd know, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have pattern of excessive use, and then they either do or they don't.
Yeah, I can say that we're continuing to see, notices are rolling out at a rate of notice of a violation are rolling out at a rate of around 10 per day. We do expect that, that'll start to tail off, assuming, fingers crossed, we get precipitation and people turn down their irrigation systems.
Okay.
I think it's also worth noting that, so to date, we've sent 2,689 warning letters. So that helps to give kind of an upper
Okay.
bound, although hopefully not all of those people would, have another exceedance. So just getting to the list today. So today we are releasing that second list. It is longer than the list last month just because of the way the timing works out. There's 320 customers on that list. There were an additional 5 who were removed from the list because they had leaks that they took care of and, went through the leak adjustment process. And, so per our our regulations, they were removed from the list.
So out of the warning, out of the 320 who've been are on the list here, how many of them in that period received warning letters?
All of them.
No, were there more? I'm trying to find out people who then reduced their usage, their first warning.
Oh, I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, so people who got warning letters but then did not have an exceedance.
Right.
We can look into that for you. I don't have that.
That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, is the warning working?
Yes.
Basically,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the data that you shared, Alice, but you said you sent out 2,600 warning, or?
2000, so through today, 2,689 warning letters have gone out. But just as a reminder, you know, a customer, if they used their water, if they were efficient all summer, and then for whatever reason they had a leak or they decided to turn on their irrigation, they could have a first exceedance now. So warning letters might continue to go out.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can certainly look at that for, you know, these customers, you know, who had a violation. Were there folks in the same kind of like billing cycles who got warning letters and then, you know, did not have exceedances again?
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can look at. I did want to mention also, we heard you last time about the desire to have more outreach to customers, particularly just to folks who have violations, to make sure they know about the appeal process. So starting last Friday, we are now going to be sending an additional letter. So again, the process is when customers have a first exceedance, they get a warning letter. When they have a second exceedance, they get the notification on their bill, and then they will also get an additional letter from us. It has some red text at the top. You know, the basic, and that letter essentially says, you know, you have violated our ordinance. You know, it gives some information about the recent bill, talks about the Public Records Act, and then also gives some information about the appeal process and a link to the website where they can get more information on that.
And real quick, is it 642 gallons in a unit of water?
I think that's seven.
What? 748, thank you.
Yes.
Is this list sortable by, I mean, I'm trying to going through it, it's like what's, you know, sort of what's the worst? Looks like 6,000 something gallons per day.
That sounds about right. We certainly can, you know, we have it as an Excel spreadsheet, and we certainly can, you know, sort that and make that information a little more prominent if that's helpful. We did.
Yeah, and
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
then the second question I have, and I don't know, this might violate because this is public document, and we wouldn't necessarily want to make this public. But is there a way to know, at least in aggregate, how many of these customers that receive the excessive use penalty are current or behind on their payments?
Their bills. That's a good
Because
question.
these are obviously not just our highest water users, they're also the people with the largest water bills.
Yeah, and so some of them, and particularly I suspect maybe where you're going is that some of them are probably folks who have leaks who maybe are having trouble paying their bills. I'm going to defer to Andrew.
I don't know,
if
I'm
there's
just curious or interested in understanding, you know, the correlation or not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can look into the data. I mean, it is possible because we can go by the account number and looking at their payment history. But obviously it is a, you know, as long as we get kind of deeper and deeper into the EU, I'm sure that the effort is going to take, you know, a lot of resources to kind of get that analysis.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's relatively simple in aggregate to understand, you know, are these, you know, what percentage, like 95% of the people on this list are actually current on their water bills, and 5% are delinquent. Or
I think the data is there for us to look at, so.
Okay. It just might help inform outreach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So are there additional questions on the excessive use ordinance?
Well, you're increasing outreach to customers with violations. Sorry, you can hear me. What steps are we taking, and how's the rollout going to be?
Yeah, so we've already started that. So we have a letter, like I mentioned, that once a week we're going to be sending out a batch of letters to customers who've had a violation, you know, based on their statement date in the past week. The letters are sort of customized. We do a mail merge, so it, you know, has their name, address, it has information about the statement date, how much water they used, and then as I mentioned, it has, you know, our phone number. It has links to information about the appeal process.
And is it offering customer assistance to help reduce their water usage?
Yes, I believe we have, let me just confirm, I have a copy of the letter here. I believe we have that, yeah, we say that in all of our letters. In this particular case, we have the phone number for customer service, and then it says, EBMUD offers a variety of tools, programs, and services to help customers use water more efficiently. For more information, visit ebmud.com/watersmart.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any additional questions on this topic?
I don't see any.
Okay. Okay, so next steps. This first one, we have an update, as I think.
Excuse
Dave-
me, Alice.
Oh, yes.
Before you continue, I have a hand for public comment. I want to see if it's about the excessive use before we move forward. Is that okay, President Lenny?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Kelly A., your 3 minutes start now.
Thank you. A lot of confusion and actually misinformation being peddled here. One is this notion that this excessive use penalty is mandated, required by state law. Well, state law would apply to all the big urban, municipal water districts, water suppliers. And if you look around, you'll notice that not many of them are penalizing individual users and assigning individual limits. Now, Las Vegas Water District over there by Kardashian Land in Calabasas, they're doing it, and you are, and maybe a few others, but I don't know of too many, especially in Northern California. So no, it's not required by state law. Big, huge misinformation. The false information being peddled here. And then the limit, the numbers that are being thrown out here. There's no context. There's no context for what is the prevalence of violations in proportion to your customer base. You said something about 1.4 million customers. I don't think that's customers. I think that's probably your residents, your population base. Your customers that receive the notices, that receive bills, is probably a lot lower than that. And then, of the 2,600 warnings, how many of them would you expect to progress to become notices of violations as they age through your process? And of the 1.4 million people, or probably more like 500,000 customers, or however many customers you really have, which is a lot less than 1.4 million, how many of them do you expect to start delivering these kind of, to end up on this, penalty list? And then some of the directors were actually saying, oh, we're doing these people a favor. If the ones who end up on this list, we go out there and we do a lot of things to help them conserve and try to help them, bring them into line with conservation. This is a big service we're doing for them. Well, if that's the case, why is it, with an arbitrary cutoff, the people that are at 105% of the arbitrary limit, they're receiving all the benefits of your service, the blessings of East Bay MUD's penalties. But the people that are at 95% of the limit don't get any of the blessings, don't get any of the services or the benefits, and they suffer by consuming too much water. So, just having an arbitrary cutoff, what are you doing about the people that are near the cutoff but aren't quite over it? Thank you.
First,
Thank you for your comments.
Alice, it needs to be stated, I think, and you may be the best person, or Clifford is the best person to state one on AB 814 and how that impacts everybody. And then, and I'll make the comment, anybody in our service area, whether they use 50 gallons a day or 5,000 gallons a day, is eligible in our water conservation program to receive ways to reduce their water.
Absolutely. And if I may, Clifford, I can speak briefly to that State Bill 814, and I apologize if I misspoke. Just to be clear, that state law requires agencies to have a system for discouraging excessive use, but it does give different options. And I think some agencies have chosen to, for example, there are certain rate structures that qualify. I think we took a look at that and deemed that this having the ordinance was the best choice for us. But there are different options for how agencies can comply with that state law. And then absolutely any customer, you know, regardless of how much water they're using, if you're using 30 gallons a day and you want to save even more, we're happy to work with you. If you're using 1,000 gallons a day, we're happy to work with you.
Alice, are there any other comments you wanted to make to our public's comment?
Not unless there are any questions from the board or anything you'd like me to respond to. I appreciate the comment.
All right.
No other hands for public comment?
All right.
Okay, just to move on really quickly, next steps. My apologies, this first bullet is now incorrect. We were a little ahead of schedule. Placer deliveries were completed yesterday at about 11 a.m. We are continuing to plan in case next year is a dry year and we need to acquire water transfers. In terms of our drought messaging and advertising, we tend to kind of slow it down a little bit in the winter. We tend to shift focus a little bit. So we are working on some messaging, for example, for home water reports for once it starts raining to let people know to turn off their irrigation systems. We will, of course, continue to monitor the EU program. And as I mentioned, those additional violation notifications are already going out. I did just want to let you know that we are in the process of announcing the winners of the I Heart My Garden Photo Challenge. We've selected several winners in a few different categories. We notified them last week. They were all very excited, so the notifications are starting to go public on social media. And at the next board meeting, we hope to have a few photos and testimonials, but the gallery is still up online if you haven't had a chance to look at it. There are some really lovely testimonials from customers who've replaced their lawns.
How many entries were there?
I think we had, I'd have to go back and look. I want to say we had around 30 or 40. We had a decent amount, and that included not just residential customers. We did, I think, have some organizations as well, which was nice. Are there any further questions?
Great.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Alice.
I have one item to read into public comment. It kind of goes with, I needed to read it in public comment earlier. It's an email that was sent to the board from Maya McBride in Orinda, and the subject was frequency of customer billing can help leak detection. And just note that this item will be filed with the board minutes. And Ms. McBride was contacted by water conservation staff, and they're working with Ms. McBride on her issues.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Dave. So next up, one of the things that we are proud of is the commitment and dedication of our employees. Today, we want to highlight the employees who have reached significant milestones in their career at the district. Our plan is to share this information with you every quarter. Derry Moten, our Director of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Culture, will begin this presentation.
Good afternoon, board members. We're proud to provide for you an update on several individuals, total of 67 individuals who have achieved different employment milestones. As you know, we celebrate 5-year service awards for our employees. And as we take a look here, I want to call your attention to a couple things. We currently have 2 employees who have surpassed the 40-year mark, 2 that have surpassed the 35-year mark, and 3 that have gone over 30 years. So we're very excited to share those names with you now. We're going to put those on a scroll for you to be able to see the individuals. But of significant note are the 2 individuals who passed our 40 years, which is Scott Hill, who is a manager of Watershed Recreation, and Carl Yakic, who is a associate civil engineer. So we congratulate them. They joined the other 6 employees that we currently have that have over 40 years, for a total of 8 employees who have over 40 years tenure here with the district. So we're now going to...
and Derry, just before we get to that, I wanted to give some interesting context. When Clifford passed his 20-year, and we recognized it at the last meeting, he was hesitant to, as Clifford is, to have public attention that way, and it was part of the deal. He said, well, we need to recognize everyone. And said, you only get to recognize me if you recognize everyone else, which I think is a great thing. And we talked a little bit about how important it really is to have employees who work here a long time. It's a tremendous amount of embedded knowledge. I'm fixated these days on some books I've read about this 10,000 hour mark, where you become an expert when you've put in 10,000 hours worth of time on something in particular, and it just gives you an extra added edge to people who are starting in the field or who have been around for a while. And so I think this is a great thing that we're doing, and I'm really, really pleased that we're doing this.
Thank you.
And thank you to all those who are earning these milestones.
So at this point, we will allow you to take a look at the names of those individuals. We will take a look for any misses that we have.
Outside the period.
So we congratulate all the employees. And thank you all for your support. Thank you.
I believe Risha was outside the period that we were recognizing. So had we done this the quarter before, your name would have been on that list, Risha. And at your places is the Speakers Bureau, and that's the end of my updates.
All right. Thank you, Clifford. We'll now move to reports and directed comments. The minutes from the October 11th Legislative Human Resources Committee meeting were included in your packets. We'll now receive reports from the October 18th District Projects Tour and this morning's Sustainability, Energy, and Finance Administration Committee meetings. And there I am on the District Projects Tour. So I'll just say we had I thought an excellent tour. We visited 3 spots. Which one is it now? The water treatment plant in Kensington there. And the new tanks that they're building to replace the reservoir. Had a chance to talk with the project engineers and safety engineers, and I certainly learned a lot, and also was surprised at how different the place looked. I didn't even recognize that I had been there before because it looked so different. And then we also visited the Point Isabel wastewater wet weather treatment plant. Had a discussion there, and also went on to see the Innovation Center that we're doing in conjunction with UC Berkeley, and saw several demonstrations there. Pretty exciting, including the testing of the pipe where they were bending it on this machine, trying what they could to break it, but not successful in breaking it, which is of course success for us that way. Great tour of our infrastructure. I look forward to our next one that way. And then on to sustainable energy. Director Young.
Yeah, so we had 3 items on our agenda this morning. One was our update on the resource recovery program with an added focus on nutrient management and what we can do there, and some of the innovations that are happening around food waste for our digesters, including something I thought was very hopeful, which is having, because of the laws that are now in place that consider food waste as needing to be dealt with, that we're starting to get already sort of, not pre-digested, but smoothies. I guess food waste smoothies delivered to us, kind of, without the forks and the big scraps of wood and other things that we were concerned about with our previous project. So I think if that continues, that's a good sign. And then an update on the hydrogen fueling demonstration that's being done by somebody that we're leasing land to on our wastewater treatment plant that will bring hydrogen-fueled heavy trucks into the port. We had the renewable energy update, primarily focused on the Duffel project, out in Orinda, which is our biggest project so far, and still won't be online. It seems like we've been working on it for 3 years now. But we'll finally go online towards the end of next year, hopefully under this PG&E program that allows us to credit up to 50 of our accounts. And then we looked at some of the other innovative projects that are coming up, like our in-conduit hydro project, which, though it may have limited applicability throughout the district, it is something we're getting, a little bit more out. And then finally, our greenhouse gas emissions report for 2021 was received, and we had a good discussion there about how to be more proactive about addressing some of those things that seem to be beyond our control, like spikes in the change in source for our electricity supply, and then how we're going to meet our very ambitious goals for carbon neutrality on the water side, and still kind of uncertainty or looking forward to the ever-changing or ever-increasing understanding of the greenhouse gas emissions from wastewater treatment and how we can minimize those. So those were our three topics for today.
All right, thank you. Chairman Patterson, you want to talk about the Finance Administration Committee?
Yes, the Finance and Administration Committee met this morning. We heard a report and update on the strategic plan, key performance indicators for fiscal year 2022. Overall, I can only say that we're coming close to target. In most cases, we met or exceeded. The fiscal 2022 annual power sales report, again, we either met or were above in terms of power sales, which actually gives us a bumper moving into the reserve so that we can anticipate next year around what to do in that budget cycle, and also maybe some reserve money to help us with our infrastructure. The monthly investment transactions were heard, and all of these had a voice acceptance to them, and the recommendation on the quarterly finance reports came to you on the earlier agenda and have been approved there. Earlier information would indicate a fiscally prudent month, and our reserve went up, our overage in the bank went up. So I just give you the positives of it and congratulate staff on keeping up with all the fiscal attributes of the district. That's my report.
All right, thank you. We're on to director comments. Any director comments to add? John. Turn the mic off.
Thank you. I've submitted my comments, but I wanted to give a call out. Tomorrow with Central San, we're doing a future water forum in Lafayette, including a lot of the cities in East Bay. And without the support and help from Catherine Horn and Linda Hugh, to a large extent, putting together the presentations and the work, this wouldn't be happening. So shout out to both Linda and Catherine.
Marguerite?
Last week, Clifford and Mike Togolini and 40-year veteran Scott Hill joined Rebecca Bauer-Cahan and her staff on a short hike in the watershed on probably the foggiest day of this year, where we had to ask her to imagine the view because you couldn't see more than about 10 feet ahead of you most of the time. Sort of unfortunate for an October day, and unusual. But got a chance to talk to her a lot about our efforts to manage fuels in the watershed and the balancing of the various objectives of our mission with habitat conservation, water quality, as well as access. And we also talked about drought and water supply. It was a great conversation. She's very knowledgeable, a great, I think, advocate for us, and it was a great opportunity to show one of our important electeds what we do up close and personal.
That's great. Bill?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I observed the governor in the debate and wanted just to pass on his knowledge of all of the kinds of input our staff has given, being flexible, understanding how to conserve and save water, and making sure there was no one plan fit all, and the exceptions that our staff entered were on the record and in his comments. And I wanted people to know that the input East Bay Mud supplied is on top of the comments that he was making as it related to the drought and the action that we're taking as a state. And he compared that to other states around the nation. And I wanted to let Clifford and the rest of the staff know that your hard work paid off, and it's being repeated out there. The person put next to him had no facts, nothing that they could put into the record based on science or anything else. I just wanted to let that be part of the record.
Thank you, Bill. Any other director comments? All right, then with that, the next meeting of the board will be held on Tuesday, November 8th, which is Election Day. Be sure to go out and vote at 1:15 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.